It's time for a serious walk on the weird side. This is SPI's Dallas, supposedly a role-playing game. It shares some features with role-playing games. You have a GM who sets up a scenario, and the players, well, through various mechanisms, interact with each other and with NPCs. Sure, that sounds like it, right? But it's not role-playing. You're not really playing a character in the way that you would a normal role-playing game. There's also victory conditions, very specified. And the actual mechanisms of play, unlike most role-playing games where, you do some kind of conflict. Yeah, they usually have a combat system or whatever. Here, it's all interpersonal relations that are being covered in it. This one, oddly enough, has been on my short list all along. When I say something's on my short list, it means that for a very long time, I've been wanting to cover it. But this one's incredibly problematic to cover. I have a fair amount of role-playing games, and not all of them are here, but I have a bunch on these shelves over here. The Traveller stuff is buried over there. And have long been a fan of RPGs, but I haven't been playing one for a long time. And this one never really has been one. Worse than that, I don't know if I've ever actually gotten this played. Maybe once. I've had a couple of experiences with it where I played it solo to try to see, could I get this to work? Because the rules are very sparse in terms of the kind of interaction. It feels in play in a lot of ways kind of like an Illuminati type game where you're trying to gain control of cards through, various influence mechanisms that you use. There's very little storytelling aspect in it, except that the director sets this scenario up that is the story. I think it's no more a role-playing game than like Hero Quest is, where, yeah, you're playing a role, you're fighting and everything, but there's sort of a clear victory condition per player, and there's all kind of stuff involved in it. Of course, Hero Quest, if I recall correctly, was sort of the GM versus the players, which kind of captures the feel of some role-playing groups, weirdly enough. This one at least captures the idea that the GM can't win. He's trying to provide an entertainment, he or she, throughout. My experience with playing it, I may have gotten like my parents to try it once, maybe with a couple of buddies, I don't know. But the game holds like 9 players. And although there are rules, sort of, kind of, for dropping characters, playing with less people, whatever, I don't think they work very well, but that's okay because I don't think the rules work very well as a whole. Now, after having this kicking around for many years and never being able to get anybody to play it seriously, for whatever reason, back in 2000, I was at a con. I was doing the usual gaming convention that our college was putting on, and this was in Buffalo, and I would usually enter a couple of games. I think this year, the year that this was going on, I entered Dune, and I was going to do a multiple round Dune tournament, and I think not enough people signed up for it. This one I had one person sign up for, which was, I was doing Dallas, but I was doing it, I was using Dallas's rules, but I was doing it for the 2000 election. And, what happened really after the election, the maneuvering that was happening politically. Now, totally humorous design here, but you can see I threw a bunch of the people in there. and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that at some point. But let's get to how the game was intended to be played. I got my Cubic rules here for some reason. I don't know that I own Cubic, but those rules may have come, are probably associated with these chips, is what I'm guessing. I don't know. But these are, you need some kind of counters for this game. They suggest using pennies. I've used poker chips. For this, I wanted something, you know, when I set up Bush, as I called it, with an exclamation point. I wanted these to be associated because they were easy to travel with. So I'm not like, I don't even think I had real poker chips at this point in my life. But I wanted something with me. I actually also had a piece of paper from a book I was writing, a math book, but not alone. With my father, we were collaborating on it. But that ended up, the publisher ended up dropping it, and I made very little money off of the publications that he managed to do in what I consider a kind of unethical thing, which was, he was basically using, well, so professors often do this. If they have a book that's published, they will use their own book. And this is essentially what he was doing, but providing a cheaper book because it was being published out of the university itself. So it was kind of, I don't know, it just feels weird to me. And I think I got all the money because he wasn't allowed to make money off his own book. Like, there was some kind of ethical rule there, but it still felt really shady to me. But he would have done it anyhow. You know, the money would have just gone to the university press entirely. So, I don't know. All right. So let's take a look at what the core of the game is. Oh, well, let's take a look at what you get. You get a rule book and the scriptwriter's guide, which gives a few more hints as to how the director is going to handle things. Each player, major character in the game, has their own sheet, which has an outline of the rules that the player kind of needs to know about, although these can be fucked up and changed to some extent. A list of all the different characters is on each of these, giving their stats that are available, as well as any special effects that they have. These are all also summarized on a sheet for the director. And then you have a bunch of cards. Some of them are just sort of plot devices. These kind of pink things with just words on them. Some of them are characters, very much like the characters in the game, the same stats on them, etc. And then there are organizational cards, which are also pink, like the plot devices, for whatever they matter. And those are going to be present. I'm trying to think. Illuminati comes to mind, but you don't have connections in it. I'm trying to think of a game where you just collect up cards and get to use them in a similar way. But you kind of do. The play is in some ways very similar to Illuminati when it comes to it. Okay. Each player except the director is going to be playing the role of one of the major characters of the show. And the director is basically the GM. But all they do is they set up what the scenario is, or maybe pick one of the three that the game comes with. We have a list of some of the things here. Different abilities that are available. Persuasion, coercion, seduction, and investigation. Power is what the chips are used for. Each character has a power rating, each major character, which is how many chips they have, and those are things that you can expend in each scene. Now the game generally runs for like 6 scenes, with the first 3 or so introducing all the characters and plot devices that are going to be available, although not necessarily revealing them all. Some of them are hidden and only the director knows about, or a player may know about. You have some of the character cards will have their own power as well. Luck is basically an ability to avoid any attempt being made on you. So if an attempt succeeds on you, you get a luck die roll. And you need a couple of dice for the game. Basically, you're going to be rolling, like an Illuminati, a 2 to 12 die roll to see if an action succeeds. There are no automatic failure, automatic success type die rolls like there are in Illuminati, which, like, I think there's only automatic failure in Illuminati. There's nothing like that here. So if your value gets high enough, you will succeed. And you're going to try to affect either other player characters or characters that are in the game as minor characters using these capabilities. Players can have control of a particular other card, either a minor character or a plot device. Players are able to protect a specific number of characters and plot devices, which will increase their resistance to anything else. That probably needs its own marker, but whatever. Okay. Let me go over these. So cards have a number, a name, type of character, the name of the character, what their, what their place is, and then these special ratings. Now the ratings are divided into two values, an offensive and a defensive. These are calculated, and they give a description of how the designers calculated these and then kind of fudged them. I don't know. But yeah, you basically have an offensive capability and a resistance capability, and then you have a luck value, which, if that's high, like JR's is, you might just never be affected by anything because you keep rolling your luck, and that doesn't tend to be modified usually. The game is divided into each scene in the game. So the game is divided into scenes. Each scene in the game is going to be divided into certain segments. And the first one is the director's segment, where he sets the stage for that scene, gives any information out. Some of it may be secretly handed to players, and sets up any new cards that are showing up, which may or may not be visible. Okay. And the director also announces how long the players are going to have to conduct negotiations. Then the players are allowed to go off and privately meet with one another and groups or whatever, and come to any kind of deals that they want to come to. And there aren't a lot of rules about like what you can transfer or give away. I get the feeling it's whatever you like from looking at the, there's a little example of playback here, which you almost need to even understand what the game is about. And then finally, the director determines the sequence and number of actions the players are going to get for conflict. In general, each player gets 3 actions that they can perform, but it's that character and all their subordinates get those 3 actions. And each character in a given scene is allowed to basically perform 1 active act, although protecting characters is something that you can do that multiple times. And you can use some of your 3 actions to protect characters. This could be done the sequence is set by the director. The director could choose to allow each player to do 1 action, and then each player to do their 2nd action and then their 3rd action, or they could just say, look, you're all going to do your 3 actions all at once. So JR, you go first, and you know, you do your 3 actions, and then we go down to the next and the next. You probably want to give the weakest players the last actions, although there are advantages to going early, for various reasons. Negotiation, there's nothing formal in negotiation. The director may wish to impose restrictions on it, whatever they wish, you know, to allow. Okay. All right, conflict. Well, you probably can't meet your victory conditions without having to roll some dice. And the conflict is going to be taking an ability and comparing it to another character's resist generally. And you make an attempt from one character against the other. 2 characters cannot attempt to affect a single character at the same time. The procedure is the affecting character announces that he'll use a particular ability to accomplish a specific purpose. And they give an example, use persuasion to gain control of the affected character. Okay. Now, you can't gain control of another major character, but you could steal a minor character from a major character. Or just take one from the middle of the board. The affecting character makes all modifications, adding power using special bonuses, and states the total value of the effect attempt. For example, a persuasion of 20 plus a power of 2 plus 2 power markers from the controlling major character would total 24. The resisting character then announces whether he or she is protected and whether any modifications for power will be made. Then the resisting character's ability is subtracted from the affecting character's ability, all modified, and this is going to be the spread. If the spread is 12 or more, the attempt is successful automatically. If it is less than 2, it fails automatically. Otherwise, you roll a pair of dice and see if you land within the spread. If you do, you've succeeded. But okay. Each effect attempt results in the acquiring information, obtaining a plot device, and or assuming another player's power marker. Each major character can attack any other character. Each minor or organizational character that a player controls may be used to attack any other character. A minor or organizational character need not be controlled in order to be affected. Each character can use only one of his or her character's abilities to affect per scene. Each character may be affected an unlimited number of times. Well, it is limited, but all effect attempts are resolved in the open and are known to every other player. Okay. If an effect is successful, the resisting character can use their own luck value. Okay? So if I'm attempting to get the secret informer over to my side, they would have the option to make a luck check after a success to see if, you know, something just happened that foiled my plans. But if the secret informer was controlled by JR, he would, and I made an attempt against the secret informer would still use his luck chance. But if I used an attempt against JR to give up that secret informer to me, I would hit JR himself, which is probably not as effective, and if I succeeded, it would be his luck factor that would come into play. I gotta swap batteries. Let's take a look at the different means of affecting something. So, a character ability in conflict resolution is got several different ways you can do things. So if I use persuasion, I can use this to affect any other character. A successful persuasion requires that at the affecting character's option, the affected character either gives up information on demand, which I think is usually only used against major player characters, or against the director. But it might be possible that a minor character knows something, and that could be used, and that would be part of the script. Relinquish control of a character or plot device if the affected character is a major character, control that they have, or come under the control of the affecting character if the affected character is a non-major character. And now then you could use that character you could use his capabilities. Okay. Seduction. Any character other than an organizational character can attempt to affect any character of the opposite gender using seduction. Successful seduction requires that at the affecting character's option, the affected character either provides information on demand or relinquishes control of a character or plot device. Oh, and here they actually say if the affected character is a major character. I think they should say that here. Yeah, they say it here too. Or come under the control of the affecting character if it's a non-major character. Seduction can only be used against characters of the opposite gender who are not related to the seducing character. Now, the definition of related is not put forward in the game. And this is kind of interesting for a number of reasons. Okay, so JR can't seduce Mom, Ellie. All right, I'm good with that. That's fine. But can he seduce his wife? Because are they related? Are they not? You know? And then also there's additional weirdnesses in here, like, and the way I'm going to do it is as of the printing of this game, what the characters knew. So Lucy Ewing was actually Ray Krebs' daughter, illegitimate daughter. She doesn't think that's the case, right? She thinks she's Jock and Ellie's daughter, I think. I'm not sure. But what I'm saying for how I'm going to play it is that so Pam and Cliff are brother and sister. They are related and cannot use seduction on one another. And that marriage relationships still allow for seduction to happen in them. Because in the show, certainly, there were cases where you would have essentially one of the married couple seducing the other of the pair. By the way, this is, what is this put forward as? Somewhere they say it. It is a family role-playing game. But I don't think family in the sense of like the whole family can play. I think it's more in the sense that it's representing a family. But I don't know. This is a Dunnigan game, by the way. And the rules kind of show it. Dunnigan had a tendency to sketch out rules and then give them to someone else to develop. Now in this case, do we have credits in the rule book? Yeah. Dunnigan's game design and development, always a bad idea. Don't have the designer develop the damn game. Dunnigan would very often, basically he would usually come up with a sketch idea, hand it off to someone, and let them be the designer of the game as well. But we've got an editorial development here, which I don't think counts as anything. We basically don't have a developer to this rulebook. We don't have anybody who stepped in and said, you know what, your game doesn't make sense. And it's funny because they kind of tried to release this as a big deal. I mean, they give it good ad space in the magazines, which they didn't give to all their games. And may have, you know, I mean, obviously they're going after a bigger audience. So you would think they would nail things down a little better. They really didn't. They did not create a game that most people could play. Question is whether I can play it, but and I don't know if there are many people who've put more attempt into this without actually getting it played. I'd love to hear from anybody who's done this. Okay. Let's keep going. Coercion. Any character can attempt to affect a character using coercion. Any character using coercion. Successful coercion requires that the affecting character's option, the affected character, provides information on demand. Wow, these all sound the same. Relinquish control of a character or plot device if the affected character is a major character. Or, and this is different, not gain control, but attempt to affect upon demand any other character of the affecting character's choice. If the third option is chosen, the affected character must be compelled to make its effect attempt immediately. I think this doesn't count against your tries. Like, I think you get 3 tries with things that you actually control, but you may be precluded from that character that you don't control. They may be precluded from making another effect attempt in the same scene. They may only be able to make, and that may be a way to prevent coercion from forcing you to do something. Not spelled out here. Whenever an attempt to coerce an independent minor or organizational character is unsuccessful, there's a possibility of revenge. Each player, other than the player who attempted to coercion roll, rolls the dice, and then the high roller can make a persuasion attempt to get control of that character. And if the first high roller fails, the next person gets to keep going. Everybody else gets a shot. So basically, if you fail at a coercion attempt, other people are going to get someone else is probably going to get control of that character, for what it's worth. Investigation. Any character can attempt to affect any other character by using investigation. Successful investigation requires that the affected character provide information. Investigation may also be used against the director to discover the identity of characters and plot devices that are face down on the table, for whatever that's worth. Investigation also plays a part in dealing with illegal acts. Special abilities, some of them are placed here, but there may be others. Talent can be used either a scientific, artistic, or technical talent. Obtaining these might be the script victory conditions. Criminal ability, aptitudes, burglary, car theft, forgery, embezzlement, and so forth. Luck is the ability to survive misfortune. We've already discussed that. Characters who have a value listed for luck can roll 2 dice whenever they wish to avoid misfortune. This is automatic for uncontrolled characters. They will always make that attempt. And other abilities might be a modifier with various specific characters, or just, something that's baked into the particular scenario. Okay. Like I said, each major player, or each major character, the player-controlled ones, has a power rating. And that's how many little discs they're going to have. Each point of a major character's power is represented by a power marker. Each power point added to the effect attempt increases the character ability used by 1, except for coercion, where the power markers are tripled on either side. When resisting, a power marker can be used in the same way by applying it to the resisting character's ability. A player can use a power marker to assist the effect or resist attempt of any character he or she controls. Each power marker may be used only once per scene. The minor and organizational character's power is not transferable. It's only applied to resistance, and it's applied automatically when the character is It's applied automatically when the character is controlled. I thought it was always thrown in. A minor or organizational character's power may be used as often as the character attempts to affect or resist. An affecting character, see, this is a little different, because here the minor power is not transferable. It may only be applied to resistance and is applied automatically when the character is controlled. Okay, that's a little weird, but all right. But a minor or organizational character's power may be used as often as the character attempts to affect or resist. You're only allowed to apply it to resistance. What the hell? Yeah, this is just, completely contradictory, and that's what happens when Jim Dunnigan writes roles, huh? He came up with a great, this is how rules should be structured. Not used in this game, but okay. This feels more like a GMT style, even looser. And that's what they tried to do with these games, that they tried to make for a wider audience. So things like Napoleon's Art of War. They thought they could capture younger players with it. So they used this kind of rule structuring. Some of the more fantasy-based stuff, they use this kind of rule structuring as opposed to the normal case structuring, which works really, really well once you're used to it. But All right, use of control characters. In any one scene, a player may attempt to affect once each with 3 different of his or her controlled characters, including the major character. Instead of making one of these effect attempts, a player can protect a character. A protected character has its resistance increased by 3 to any one effect attempt made against it. If a player protects one character, that player may use only 2 characters maximum to attempt to effect in that scene. The protected character can be still used to effect. If a player protects all 3 characters, that player can use no characters to make an effect in the scene. You're basically just trying to hold on to what you got. Major characters are often made inactive for a scene in the game, or they may be given less activity. When this occurs, the major character may not be attacked. Well, when they're fully inactive, they may not be attacked, nor may they use any of the major character's abilities, but they can still be affected. I'm sorry, characters controlled by the inactive player can be affected. The inactive player may not protect any of his or her controlled characters, nor may these controlled characters make any effect attempts. I don't know if that's fair. Seems like if you coerce, if someone else coerces it, they should be allowed to. But again, this is like ambiguous rules aspect. I'm already, assuming that I have to make shit up. Okay. Dealing with illegal acts by player characters. When the director indicates that a character has committed an illegal act, the other players may attempt to put the character in jail, picking up victory points. A player who controls a character, that'll be by the script. A player who controls a character that has a legal authority, the director gets to specify these. They may begin the process. The player uses investigation ability of his or her major character or any character he or she controls, which feels different than than the limitation on who can begin the process, right? And if we go to the sample play, someone who does not have legal authority, particularly Cliff Barnes, he's a lawyer, but it starts the process with an investigation. I would limit the capabilities in different ways. Player uses the investigation ability of his or her major character or any character he or she controls to identify the suspect officially. Any power added to the investigation is doubled, and the following adjustments are made to the die rolls. Now, it doesn't say whether or not the resistance can be doubled as well. Probably. Subtract 2 for a misdemeanor. Oh, okay. So, and the following adjustments are made to the die roll. Now, subtractions are going to improve the chance of success. So if it's a misdemeanor, it's -2. Of minor felony is -4. Major felony is -6. It's easier to investigate criminal actions than it is to investigate other stuff. See what goes on with that. But successful identification garners the identifying character 3 victory points. The arrest warrant must be obtained using persuasion as investigation was used in step 1. Successfully obtaining an arrest warrant is worth 4 victory points. An indictment must be obtained using persuasion as in step 2. It's worth 5 victory points. A conviction must be obtained using persuasion. It's worth 6 points. The convicted player then loses all power for the rest of the episode. The character is not out of the game, however, because there's appeals and whatnot. The same character need not perform each step of the process. Yeah, it would be hard to do so in the length of the game, and as many steps may be attempted in one scene as the players wish. Failure at any step means the attempt cannot proceed until the next scene. Okay, so if I've got a bad investigator or something, I can fuck everything up for everybody else. If a player is successful at each step, the entire process can be completed in one scene. Not by one player, right? I don't know. So what's not clear here is whether this counts against your 3 actions. It kind of sounds like you can just keep running with this, the way this is worded here. Maybe absolutely unimportant. I don't think there's a criminal action in this one, in the first of the episodes, but whatever. If the suspect is a major character, he or she may use power markers for defense. If the suspect is a controlled character, the controlling major character can use power markers. How to win the game. Okay. Each episode assigns specific victory conditions to each major character. Now, we've got victory points showing up here, right? I'm not sure they show up later. Well, they sort of do. Okay. Victory points are awarded throughout the game for dealing with illegal acts. 1 for each character or plot device controlled. 1 for each major character power marker retained. And a number equal to the power value listed on each controlled non-major character. Okay, well, you're going to get 1 for being yourself, and no one else can get that. Like, there's no way to control major characters that I know of. Then there's bonus points awarded. JR gets bonus points. It all sounds like we're just collecting up victory points, and we're going to compare them, but we'll see. JR receives the following bonus points for each power marker the indicated characters have lost since the beginning of the episode. So he gets points for his enemies losing points. These are just like his natural enemies. Jock gets 2 bonus points for each additional power marker Ellie has. Bobby gets a bonus point for each additional power marker Pam has. Pam gets 2 for each power marker JR loses during the episode. She gains 2 for each additional marker Cliff has. Ellie gets 1 for each additional power marker Jock has. So this is kind of interesting. Like, Ellie and Jock are supporting each other. Jock could be like, I'll give you a power marker. And Ellie might be like, no, no, no. I want to give you one. Cliff gets 3 bonus points for each power marker JR has lost. Ray gets 2 for each woman he's seduced by the end of the episode. Now, he's allowed to seduce everyone as far as I can tell, which is kind of interesting because, again, Lucy's his daughter, but whatever. They don't know that yet. Swellen gets 4 bonus points for each power marker JR lost by the end of the episode. Okay, but who won? Let's keep looking here. Each major character who fulfills his or her victory conditions is considered a winner. If more than one major character wins, the winners are ranked according to victory points they've accumulated. Okay, so it is actually clear. The scenarios themselves are going to give victory conditions that the players have to accomplish for them to win the scenario. Has nothing to do with these victory points. And it's quite likely, and it's possible no one will win, it's quite likely that only one player will win. But it's possible that multiple players will achieve their victory conditions, and then this is used, I guess, as some sort of tiebreaker. Do we understand how to play? I don't think so. I mean, it feels like the rules are pretty simple, and it kind of makes sense. But then we get into how the actual scenario is going to be laid out and how it works. And the scenario I wrote up is at least as good as the ones they wrote up. But they all feel kind of like amorphous as to what the director is being assigned to do. I really wish that they had given a little bit better explanation in these than they do in terms of kind of understanding how you set up and regulate the play. And like I said, you have to read the sample scene to get any idea of what's going on in the game, but you still kind of don't really know. Anyway, I'm going to give it a shot. We'll load this up as the rules introduction. It is a bare bones thing, and it, like I said, it's not really enough to be able to discern what you do here. Oh, maybe we'll hit something else here. So there's a couple of notes here. They talk about, how the director should deal with some stuff. But none of it really nails down some of the questions that I end up having when I start actually trying to play one of these. And then they go into, how you write your own scripts. Well, I didn't find that too hard. I honestly found, and then, some ideas for some plot twists and whatnot, some ideas for additional characters. I don't believe these are all in here, but they may all be in here. What does the little star mean? Does that mean they actually were? No. Those marked with a star are actually already in the game. Yeah. But some of these people are not in the game. There's no card for them or anything. They're just thoughts, ideas, I guess. Oh, no, no, no. The stars are ones that aren't being used. Yeah. So these are just like some additional ideas for characters that may give you an idea for a script. The only script I wrote was Bush. All right, let's send it up. I will give this an attempt. I can't guarantee that it works. I have played this solitaire a couple of times and felt like I was ready to run it. Couldn't get anybody to play. Felt like I understood it enough to be able to set up my own scenario, which I guess is kind of like, you know, as far as you can kind of get in the game without actually getting anybody to agree to play it. But let's go. And I'm not sure why I had different colored chips. That was important to me for my scenario, but I don't think, I know it's not for the main. All right, up it goes.